afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's session. We have an interesting topic. It's not all the time we get a VBA topic, so this is a very nice change. And then, like I keep telling people, VBA is a very powerful way to automate things in Excel. So today we are having the opportunity of someone, Ibukun Oyediran, who is going to, who is prepared for us, who is going to take us on a very interesting demo. He's going to show us the power of VBA and to do one of the commonest things that most of us find ourselves, needing to do. So is the topic of today's session is called creating a form for data entry purposes using Excel VBA. And our presenter is Ibukun Oyediran. I'm going to talk a bit more about him later. So right now, I'm going to quickly tell us about who are behind this webinar. So we run these webinars every Sunday, every week. We try not to fail, but only God is 100% always consistent. Sometimes we get speakers who cancel, so life happens, but consistently we've been above 90%, so kind of you show up every Sunday at this time, there's a very great chance that you will see a presentation by us. Okay, so your BizEdge is a Microsoft Excel training and consulting firm in Nigeria. We do the guarantee that when you come for our training, we don't just leave you at the end. We keep, with things like these, after training tasks, after training support, we have a whole lot of resources and continuous learning tools. That's what differentiates us. So it's not like we just train you and we say bye-bye and don't come back. We help you to keep learning. MHS is the same company, but in Canada. So in case you have people in North America who want to learn data analysis, and you can get across to us, and they might be served better by MHS Analytics. So now we go to the key aspect of our presentation today. So our guest speaker, his name is Ibukun Oyediran. He holds a degree in industrial relations. I'm going to share his LinkedIn link so you can connect with him. He is a result-driven data analyst, intelligence expert. He thrives on transforming complex data into actionable insights. So he's someone who has learned to bridge the gap between the technical knowledge and the business needs. And that's why I think you will find this particular topic of is relevant, how you can take a very common need, automate it and create a solution that lasts, that is independent of you, keeps working even when you are no longer in that organization. So I'm going to hand over to him. I'll turn off my camera, and my daughter is always wanting to take charge. So I'll go into the background, and then so Ibukun, are you ready for us? So you can take it away from here. You can share your screen, and you can come off mute.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Right, how are you all doing today? Yeah. So today, like Michael has mentioned, I'll be taking us on Excel VBA and how you can actually create a user form using Excel VBA. And from my own understanding, right, I realized that most people, even data analysts themselves, right, they share it from VBAs because they see it as maybe complex coding or anything. But when it comes to coding, I realized that people just get out of that, right? So basically, what am I trying to create today? So what I'm trying to create is, right, so instead of probably just inputting data the normal way or the usual way of inputting data in Excel, right? I'll try as much as possible to create a form today, right? So once you fill in the form, you click on the submit button, then it gets stored in your database, right? So without no further ado, let me just jump into today's session. And like Michael has said, if you have any questions, please let's just wait until we finish this tutorial or training, right? So let me just start, right? So I don't know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we see Excel. I hope that's what you want us to see, right?
Yeah, Excel. That's how we today anyways. Right, so first of all, let me just try to build like a simple template, right? A simple form template. So where am I currently highlighting, right? That's where I will actually input my form, right? So what kind of form am I creating? I'll probably create a form for Ibukun's enterprise, whereby I'll probably come onto this form every day to input probably customers information, that contains their revenue, the customer's name, the date of this transaction, the week it took place, and the quarter we had this transaction. So basically, right, so first of all, like I said, I'll probably just create my forms, right, and I'll be using a grid line to design my input box, right? Then the next thing I'll try to fill is the customer's name. Sorry. So basically it's just part of the design. We are trying to start the real work itself. Then let's see the quantity of products. Let me just try as much and enlarge this also. Then probably the revenue generated for that particular product. Okay. Then the week it took place, right? So, and I'll probably give us a reason why I'm actually including week in this form, then the quarter. So, for example, for the sake of this tutorial, this is how our form will look like, right? Then we also have like a button that says submit. Let me just use like let me just use the rectangular shape. I'll probably work on the design later, but let me just use a black one for now. And sorry. Right, so this is our form, right? So I also need to create like maybe like a table or a database where whatever information we actually fill in this form to get stored in the database, right? So I'll probably just input all the information I have in my forms. Then the customer name, then the quantity, the revenue generated, week, then quarter. Right. So now that we have this, let me just try to highlight the headers and just make it white so we can't see, and try to make it bold. Right. So now we have our database, then we have the form. So like I said, the idea is once you input the information you have here, right, it gets submitted into this database, right? And one thing I actually know about VBA is, like I said, everybody share it from VBA, but the truth is it actually comes in handy, right? Just know what you're trying to achieve, right? Then break it down into units, right? Once you break it down into units, then you can start solving what you want. So what do I mean? So I do not expect everybody to actually know everything about VBA or know the codes about VBA, but it will become easier once you can break down your steps into units. So let's say, for example, now we're creating this user form. Sorry, we're creating this user form. First of all, I want to make everything here compulsory, right? I want a situation whereby if you don't fill anything or you don't fill everything in this form, it should actually just give you a notification saying, oh, you need to probably fill this particular information because it is required, right? So that's one aspect of the form, right? So after I do that, right, I want a situation whereby once you click on the submit button, right, it should get submitted into this database. That's the second part. The third aspect I want of this form is, okay, I want, for example, now probably going to use the extra formulas here too. I want the date to automatically change when we have a new day. So for example, today's date is 27. By tomorrow, this should also change to 28. By next tomorrow, it should change to 29, right? That's another aspect of it, right? Also this week, right, I want a situation whereby we'll probably get the week number of today, and it will be dependent on this date. What do I mean? So let's say, for example, out of we have 52 weeks in a year, right? So let's say, for example, right, we're in the 34th week based on the date. So let's, for example, I put 27th of August 2023, right? I want this week to actually identify the week day of today's date, right? So it could be week 32 or week 33 or week 34, right? Same thing with the quarter, right? I want it. Sorry, yeah.
Okay, great. So there's a comment which I think is something that it will be easy for you to do. So
Okay.
we are asking, someone is asking if you can zoom your Excel a bit. You see how there's still some space on the right. So maybe if you zoom, because some are probably joining from phone. Yeah, it's good now.
Sorry.
Awesome. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
But the person who says he can't hear Bright, you can, I think if you drop and rejoin, you will hear because his audio is good. Okay, so carry on, sir.
All right, thank you so much. So like I said earlier, I said you have to break down what you want to achieve into units, right? So for this, for the sake of this tutorial, I've actually broken it down, saying, first of all, I want to make everything compulsory, right? Also, I want the dates to be automatically calculated. Same thing with the week and same thing with the quarter, right? So I have like 4 steps I'm trying to achieve, right? So first of all, the next question I'm going to ask myself is, first, how am I supposed to ensure that all of this information here is compulsory if I click on the submit button? That's the first question I need to ask myself. And in this situation, we're going to actually make use of VBA. Also going to make use of Excel formulas. And one thing I realized is no matter how tiny or simple an Excel formula is, it always comes in handy, right? So for example, right, so the formula I'll be using to ensure that, okay, if this cell here contains an information, or if the cell here contains information, or if the cell here contains an information, I'm probably using a formula called is equals to blank, is blank rather. So equals to is blank, right, which is this. Now select the cell, right, and close your bracket, right. So I'm getting a false, right, because this cell is not blank. Now I'll do the same thing for others, right, equals to is blank, then select the cell, and press my enter. Yeah, this is blank, so it's giving me a true. So we'll be using this is blank function in our VBA code, right? And I'll be breaking down the VBA code into smaller units, right? Same thing goes with this. Then select this. So if I input any information here, right, it's going to change that this cell is no longer blank. Then so yeah, we have this information, right? Obviously, I don't want to see this information anytime I'm, maybe, for example, this form is about to go live. I'll find a way to probably just hide it. But for the sake of this class, I'll still leave it here. Then we can actually hide this later. Now we've actually figured out just one aspect of what we're trying to achieve today. Now we are able to identify if any of our form is blank or not. Now, the next step now is saying, okay, if I should click on the submit button, I want it to come over here, right? But if any of the information is not filled, give me a warning or an instruction saying that, okay, you need to fill up a particular information, and that's where VBA code comes in, right? So when it comes to VBA code, it's actually on one of our tabs called the developer tab. So I expect that not everybody. Sorry, can you hear me? Because I just want to confirm you can hear me because I had like network issue here.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. So what I was saying is, so to actually have access to a VBA screen or a VBA code screen, right? So there's a tab you have on Excel called the developer, and for now, I guess not everybody has it, but it's an inbuilt tab on Excel, right? So to get it, so I'll probably just break it down because currently I'm actually using a MacBook, but if you are currently using Windows, one of the way to actually access the developer tab is go to your files, right? If you go to your files, I do have files there, that's why. For Mac, let me just go for Mac first. You go to Excel, then go to preferences, then go to view, then go to, you see developer tab is marked, right? But for Windows, right, you go to your file, then you go to options, right? So when you go to options, there's a place called add-ins, right? Or I can just probably a place called add-ins. Then if you scroll down, there's a place called Excel add-ins. Then you go to go, then okay, you see the tab called developer tab somewhere around there, right? But let me just use the screen I have right now, right? Or you can just probably just check Google to just access it, developer tab, if my instruction is not clear. But I'll be using my Mac for the sake of this class, right? So if you're using a Mac, you go to Excel, you go to preference, then you go to view, then you click, you tick your developer tab. It won't show automatically in Excel except you turn it on yourself, right? So now that I have, so if you go to developer tab, now that I have it here, we have different commands here, but the one we'll be using here today is Visual Basic, which is another name for VBA, right? So once I click on VBA, this is the screen. This is the screen I get, right? Then I click on, so the name of my project. So let me just sorry, that's a mistake. Let me just change the name of my sheet into transactions. I think that'll just make my work easier instead of using sheet 1, sheet 2, and every other thing. Transactions. Okay, I guess that's correct. So once you go to VBA, right, you get to see the screen and you get to see the name of your worksheet in this left pane, right? So usually it will be like this. Then click on this plus icon, right? Then you see all of these options, right? And this is the name of my worksheet, right? So now I want to start, like, for example, start writing VBA code, right? So the first thing I have to do is, first of all, I have to create a module, right? So I right click, right? You see insert, right? Then you click on module, right? So I'm trying to create like, I just imported like a new screen. Let me just put it that way, where I can actually input my VBA codes. So that's what that module is talking about. Okay, I want to input my VBA codes in the screen, right? So let's start. Now, like I said, what am I trying to achieve in this situation? So I want a situation whereby if I should click on the submit button, right? I want a situation whereby it will inform me that, okay, I've not filled in a particular information. That's exactly what I want in this situation, right? I didn't know how to identify if a particular cell is blank or not, right? So I'll be writing something and I'll be breaking it down for us, right? So what does sub table mean? Or let me just call it something else, or sub transaction. So basically, what I actually wrote is just saying, okay, it's more like I just created a frame, right? And I want to store all the codes I'm writing into this table data frame I created. That's exactly what it's saying, right? This thing is just saying, okay, oh, I have a house. Inside my house, I have chairs, I have beds, I have fans. Basically, that's what it's saying. So this is more like a building, which is the table, right? So under this table, I want to store all my codes in there, right? So that's the first thing. So if you want to write a VBA code, you need to create like a subroutine or like a building where you probably store all your code. It is general, you just can't avoid it, basically, right? So the next thing now is I need to create a variable, and I'll explain what I mean by variable, but let me just write in my first variable. Right, so sorry. So what is this saying? Dim message as worksheets. So I'm trying to store. So I told you I have like sorry, I'm trying to minimize my VBA and it just keeps closing my Excel. Right. So remember the name of my worksheets is transactions, right? So basically what I actually wrote here is saying, okay, I want to store that particular worksheet into a variable called SH. Right. So instead of using the name transaction all the time, right? I'm trying to create like a new variable for it that is called SH. So dim SH as worksheet, and to create a variable in in VBA code, you have to use the word dim, right? For those of us that are familiar with Power BI, we use the word VAR, right? So basically, that's what this thing is just talking about, right? So I actually created a variable called SH, and you should identify it as a worksheet. I can set to identify it as a workbook, but at this point, I'm trying to deal with the transaction worksheet, right? So I want to identify it as a worksheet, right? So I'm going to say set this SH, which is this worksheet, right? Set this SH, right? That I created, this variable that I created, right? So I want the SH to be equals to my transaction worksheet, right? I'll explain it again. Let me just input it. We'll probably just pick it up, right? Sorry. So let's not forget this is actually case sensitive transactions, the name of our worksheet. It's actually case sensitive. So if I spell it wrong, I'll probably not get the result I want. So like I said, I created a variable called SH and it identifies it as a worksheet. Right now, I want to set this SH to be this workbook called transaction. I'm not sure if I call it transaction or transactions. Okay. Keep S as okay, transactions. Thank you. So I saved it as transactions. So instead of using the word transaction every time, or instead of using the word sheet one, right, I'll be making use of SH, right? So I don't even got up to that level, right? Now we've actually, so these are like default things you need to do in VBA before you start writing in your code. You need to set like a building, but like I said, so sub table, then I decided to create a variable for it. And what is my variable connected with? Is connected with my transaction worksheet, right? And now, like I said, now I want a situation, but once I click on submit, right, it will go through series of the information I've actually kept in my forms and say, okay, have I filled all of the form? If I've not filled all of the form, give me like a message box saying, oh, you need to fill this particular information, right? And that's the code you're about to write, right? So I'll probably just input a comment saying, okay, what I'm about to write here is a validation code, right? This is just for anybody that wants to I'm actually inputting this for anybody that wants to go through the tutorial again, right? And the person will probably understand that, oh, what it's trying to achieve here is validation. So just like the way we use if function in Excel, right? We also use if function in VBA. If you understand how if function works very well, then I think we'll probably just find this very, 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 very easier than any other thing, right? So just the same way. So equals to, or Mr. equals to if, right? Right, SH. So what am I? I'll give us a reason why I'm actually using this SH, but let me just introduce the code, right? What's this? Okay, that's C3. I'll probably explain this code for us in no time. I'll come back to the code. About it. So let me explain, right? So I don't know if you understand how I created a variable called SH, right? So SH is not the name of our workbook, which is called transactions, right? So like I explained earlier. So now I'm trying to create a validation function, making use of the if function, saying, okay, it should give me an information if I don't fit a particular information, right? So I'm making use of the if function, saying if sh.range, what's this saying? If the transaction sheet range in VBA is also known as cell. So I'm just going to use Excel terminologies to explain all of these things. I'll use the Excel terminologies to explain some of these things. If the transaction, which is SH, dot range C3 also means dot cell C3. And let's go and check what cell C3 is. Cell C3 is this is the false. Right? I said I'll be making use of this to actually check our validation, and I'll explain it again. If cell C3, right, if it's equals to false or true. So if it's equals to true, if I say true, it's saying, okay, probably so if I erase this, sorry, if I erase the information here, it's probably change to true. That means there's no information. So if cell C3 is equals to true, right? So what should happen, right? So in Excel, we make use of commas, right? But in VBA, we're going to write then, right? So then is our delimiter instead of making use of comma. If transaction.cell C3 value is equals to true, what should happen? I want it to probably just pop up a message box saying, oh, you need to fill this particular information. So there is a function in VBA that is called message box, right? Message box, right? Then what information am I trying to so yeah, as you can see, it's saying prompt. So the prompt is saying what information am I trying to input, right? So the information I'm trying to input in this is, I'll put it in double quotes. Say, please input, let's say, this input date of transactions, right? And that's just it. So if it's equals to true, it should pop out a message box saying, please input date of transaction. And what kind of information should it bring, right? So we have different types, right? Saying, so VB critical is saying, so how should the message box come out? Should it come out in form of warning, or should it come out in form of instruction, or should it come out in form of maybe, should I say danger or something? Or so critical is saying danger, it's more like warning too. So I want it to be VB critical. So it's more like warning, you actually missed a particular information, right? Then once you are done with that, so there's one time the if function, right? It makes use of exit sub. So that is exit this particular function we've written, but exit it. Because if I don't put this exit sub, if I put another code in there, it might not work perfectly fine, right? Exit sub, then end my if function, right? So if I try to run this code, right? So if I want to run this code, let's say for sample purpose, I'll click on this play icon, right? Once I click, so once I click on the display icon, automatically that's actually run the code. So let me just go back to my Excel workbook, right? So let me just input any information here, right? And I click on display. It will run the code, right? But it has not started submitting the information. It has not started submitting information because we've not written the code for that. For now, it's just probably checking that, okay, does this cell have any information? If it has any information, let it work fine. If it doesn't have any information, right, let it give me a message box saying, oh, please input the date of transaction. Let me remove the information again, then run the code. So I include, please input date of transaction because I don't have any value anymore in that cell, right? I don't know if you understand. Okay, so we've done the one for C3. So we just need to apply the same coding for C5, which is this, the same one for F3, F5, and I3, I5. Basically, that's what we're trying to do now, right? So like I said, remember SH is called the transaction table, the transaction worksheet. Let's not forget that. Range is also known as cell. So cell C3, the value in cell C3, if it's equals to true, that means if it is blank, please bring out a message box saying please input date of transaction and the warning sign. I want it to be critical, right? Then you exit your sub and you end the end date for that particular cell, which is cell C3. Now I want to do the same thing for cell C5, right? I can set to just say, oh, what's over time? I said, okay, let me just copy this code here. Let me just leave space. Sorry. So the next one is cell C5, right? And cell C5 is, I think, is our customer's name, right? So please input customer's name, which is VB critical, right? We have like 6 different cells. I think the next one I mentioned was F3, if I remember. Yeah, F3, F5, I3, I5, right? So F3. So I think F3 is quantity purchased. Right. The next one is F5. Right, and I think that's revenue generated, because I think I can remember where I imputed it. Revenue generated. Then we have I3 and I5. Okay, I think I have something copied already. I3. The week number. I know this will be automatically calculated, but let's just leave it there. Okay, this I5. So the quarter of the transaction, right? So let's just have an example of this. So let's, for example, I impute the date, which is 27/08/2023, right? I impute the customer's name, right? I impute the quantity. I forgot the revenue generated. I impute week number, let's say 23rd week. Quarter, I impute the third quarter, right? Let's say I've missed this mistakenly, right? So for now, I've not linked my VBA code to this rectangle, right? So I'll probably leave that for now. Then I try to run this. So as you can see, tell me, please impute the revenue generated, because I actually missed that particular information, right? Because that's the information I actually missed. Please impute the revenue generated, right? If I miss, or let's say I impute this and I put 4,000 error, right? I go to my Visual Basic. I won't get any pop-up, no matter how much I press it, right? It's going to work probably fine. So in that situation, right, we've actually dealt with the validations. Then, okay, whenever we input any information, it should probably just work out fine, right? Now, what is the next thing we're trying to achieve, right? So one thing I always do is ensure that, okay, my things are well aligned. Sorry. So I might just put everything on the right-hand side, or something. So at least make it neater if you have more time. But for now, so the next thing I want is when I click the submit button, right? Because if I click on the submit button right now, nothing is working. If I click on the play icon, nothing is currently working, right? So once I click on the submit button, I want it to just identify the last row, the last active cells, or the last row. Once I identify that, go to the next blank cell and you paste the information. If I have information, sorry, if I have information here, I have information here, I have information here, and there, right? I want the code to actually identify the last active row, right? Then the next blank cell, you should probably just input the information. So that's the next thing we're trying to achieve, right? So I don't want a situation where once you click on submit, it will replace this cell, it will replace this row. If I click on submit again, to replace this row. Identify the last active row, then go to the next cell and input the information. That's the next thing I'm trying to achieve at this point. So anytime you click on submit, it's going to be well aligned, and not our database is actually just well pleased, basically. So that's the next thing I'm actually trying to achieve in this state, right? Now we still need to go back to our VBA code, because Excel formulas can try to solve that for us, or maybe something not aware of yet, right? So now, sorry. Let me go back to my developer, then Visual Basic, right? So we are still in our framework, which is between sub table and end sub. So we are still going to try our formula. So what is the next thing we're trying to identify, right? So let me just impute another comment. So let me just say identify the last or the next blank cells. Next blank row, right? Right, so that's our next formula. Now we need to also create a variable for this, right? So and I know, and I've said like I said earlier, there's a reason why we create variable, right? So we keep repeating the same thing, right? So I'll create a variable called okay, let me just say dim last row as long. So I'll probably be explaining why I'm actually dimming last row as long, or what long means, right? So the reason why I'm saying dim last, so there's a, I don't know if I should call it a function in VBA called long, right? And the reason why it is long is because now, let's for example, we have let's input any information. We have information up to maybe 5,000, right? So what that long is saying is I can actually identify no matter how long the rows are, even if it's up to 10,000, right? Because I think every function has a benchmark, right? But long in VBA is saying, okay, I can contain as many numbers possible, even if it's up to 10,000, right? Just like we have one for worksheets. Okay, it's basically for worksheets, right? So long is saying, okay, no matter how big the number is, I can actually just contain it. There's another one for short numbers, saying, okay, maybe it's from 1 to 500 or from 1 to 1,000, right? But long is for big numbers because we know that Excel has so many rows. So if you should iterate each and every row, saying, okay, iterate the row 504 down to row, we want it to iterate down to row 10,000, right? You have to make use of the long function or variable, right? So that's what Don is trying to tell us. Sorry, where's my control? Off. I'm so used to Windows. So let me just erase this, right? So let me just go back to my Visual Basic, right? So dim last row as long, saying I want you to just iterate over all the rows in Excel and identify the last active row and go to the next blank row, right? So even if we have like 10,000 values in our database, go to the last 10,000, which is the last row, maybe 10,000. And after the 10,000, go to the next blank cell over there and infuse the information, right? So we already create a variable called last row. So what should our last row contain? Right, just like what did our SH contains? Our SH contains the transaction worksheet. So what should our last row contain? All right. So last row is saying the function I'm going to write is, let me just write the function first, then I'll explain like I've been saying. Range, right? Just like I mentioned earlier, range is also known as cells, right? So go to the I'll explain it. Where's my A? Okay. Okay. Right. And so I'll probably just explain all of these things. And rows dot count. Okay. Dot sharp like end. I will probably explain this formula. Let me just okay. It looks long, but it doesn't take so much of our time. It's just explanation, right? So we actually created a variable called last row, saying, okay, I created a variable called last row. Now, what this formula is trying to tell us is, I want you to identify the last row, the last active row we have in our data set. Like I mentioned earlier, right? If you have information here, right, this is our last active row, right? If you have information here, this is our last active row, right? So that's what that's basically telling us. So now I want you to, what code am I supposed to use to actually identify that? So you're saying, okay, go to this column, which is range A, right? Also known as sales, right? Then I want you to count. Let me explain. So if I come to this column, right, rows.count is saying count the active sales and what row did it stop. Currently stopped at row 11, right? I want you to come here, then count the active row. Where did it stop? It stopped at row 11, right? So it's saying range A dot rows dot count, right? So once you do that, right? Once you actually identify the last row, right? This function we have here, these functions we have here, that's exactly what it's giving us. Right? Go to the column A, then count it, identify the last active cells, right? Then I want to identify the next blank cell, right? So how do I do that? I'll just probably just say add +1 to it, which is, what if there are some empty cells within the data set? Yes, so there are some empty cells here, right? There are some empty cells here, right? Which is fine. But what Excel is going to probably count is the last active one, right? So even if you have an empty cell here, it's probably going to skip this, saying, okay, fine, but I still have a cell here, which is the last active cell. Do you get? So basically what it's telling us, if you have a blank cell in between, it's just going to identify the last one we have, where we have maybe numbers, formulas, or any other thing, right? So that's what it's telling us. So thank you for that question, right? So now to identify so now to identify the next blank cell. So like I said, I'm just going to add +1 to it. So once you find the last active cell, right, then +1, go to the last active cell, then +1, that is go to the next cell, which is the next blank one. So basically that's what it's telling us. So like I said, even this function I wrote here is like a general function to identify the last active cell in VBA. It's like a general function you use, right? So now that I've actually identified that, right, what's the next thing for us? The next thing for us is saying, oh, now you have identified it. If I click on this submit button, then submit all of this information. And this is just more of like copy and paste, basically. It's very, very easy. More of copy and paste. And I will just explain, I'll just probably explain that to us, right? So how do we ensure that works? Right? So let's not forget, we have a transaction worksheet, which is called SH, right? So SH dot range, right? Or let me write the functions again, then I can explain. So let me just explain this function I wrote here. So what it's saying is, okay, let me just use this equals to, go to the transactions table, which is SH, right? Then range A, which is column A. Then once you go to column A, right, and last row, remember, this is our function for last row, saying identify the next blank cell. So let me just explain the function. Go to our transaction worksheet, column A, right? Then remember our last row function, right? Go to the next blank sheet. So go to the next blank sheet, which is A14, right? So what is it equals to? So the information I've actually imputed here, which is my date, right, should come here. Remember, let me explain the formula again. Go to the transaction worksheet, identify column A, right? Then go to the next blank sheet, right? Then what does this blank sheet, what does it contain, right? It should contain the information I have for date because we're under date column, right? So basically, remember our date information is on B3, right? So basically, it's very, very simple. So what is it equals to? So now that I've identified the next blank column in column A, what is it equals to? So it's equals to range, just like range B, rather I'll just put it in quotes, B3, then dot value. So let me just come over again, go to our transactions table, identify the last blank row, right? Once you've identified that, right, what is it equals to? It is equals to the information we have in our cell B3. And what information do we have in our cell B3? It is this date. So this cell is equals to this cell, right? So automatically it's going to copy this and paste it here, right? So that's what the code is trying to tell us. So I'm going to apply this same thing to every other cell in our data set, right? So I don't expect us to understand it. We just need to go back to this training and just watch it again, right? So now the next range is B3, right? So like I said, we need to do it for every columns. We have A3, we have B, we have C, we have D, we have E, we have F, right? So identify the last column, the next blank cell in column B, then let it be equals to this cell, which is B5, right? So let it equals to B5. Yeah, we're also good. The next one is C, right? And let it equals to E3. So it's just one that I just copying and we are pasting, right? E, then this should be F. Then we have E. So after, I think the next one we have is sorry, is H, right? Sorry. B3, B5, E3. B, sorry. E3, E5, H3, then H5, right? So let's just see if there's anything wrong with our code, right? So let me just erase all of this for now, right? And yeah, so let's try to submit. Like I said, I've not linked this submit thing with my code yet. So now I'll be making use of display icon just to test my code, right? So let me see. Yeah, I clicked on it twice. That's why I have this information. If I click on it one more time, it's going to probably just do that again. Right. So it's to identify the last active row, right, based on the code you've written, and submit this information, right? So now that we've actually gotten that, what is the next thing for us? So I think the next thing for us now is not the situation, but I want to submit. Let's clear the content, right? Let's clear the content we have in this form. Let's clear everything we have in this form because I don't want to see it once I click on submit. So that's like the next thing for me. And to do that is actually very, very easy. But before I proceed to do that, right? Like I said, I want this date to automatically just change by itself, right? And there's a function in Excel called today, right? It automatically gives me today's date. Right now, how do I identify the week number? Right. So to calculate my week number, so there's a function in Excel also called week num, if I'm right. Yes. Right, then I'll select which week I'm trying to generate. I'm trying to generate the week number for this particular date we have here. Right? Then I'll put a comma. Right. So what is the option? So I have different options for the week number because some week starts on Sunday, where some prefer their week starting on Sunday, on Monday rather. So for us, I'll be making use of one which says our week is starting on Sunday, right? So I input one, and I close my brackets, and I'll press enter. So basically, out of the 52 weeks we have in a year, based on this date, we are in our 35th week, right? Then the quarter, how will I calculate the quarter? So yeah, I'll also be making use of a function called if function, and it will be dependent on this date, right? So I'm saying equals to if, then I'll select this, and I'll explain why I'm writing this function like this. If this cell is equals to blank, right? If there's nothing in this cell, right? Return a blank value, right? If not, right? So there's a function in Excel also called roundup, right? So, and there's also a function in Excel also called month, that it generates the month of this date, right? So month P3, right? Then divided by 3. The reason why I'm dividing it by 3 is because how many what's it called? Very much information. How many months do you have in a quarter, right? Then I want the rounded figure to be in 0. So you have 3 months in a quarter, so that's I'm dividing it by 3, right? Then once I round it up, right? I want to round it up in 0, then I close my bracket, right? And I press enter. So currently running at third quarter, right? So let me change this thing to let me just change this date. So let's say 27th of November, for example, 09 2023. I'm still getting third quarter. Sorry, I think I made error somewhere. Sorry, I think I made an error. So I'm supposed to like change this to. Oh, sorry. We have 3 quarters. We have 4 quarters. I'll probably just come back to this error. So I don't know why I'm getting 3 here, but let me just see changes to 2. So maybe yeah, this is working fine. Sorry. Oh, I'm right. I'm just miscalculating in my head. So I think the formula is right. So currently we're in our third quarter, right? So automatically it's going to calculate the quarters for us. So currently we're in our third quarter. So now, even if I submit the information, right, and every other information clears, right, I'll probably leave this information there because it will automatically calculate based on the function we have. But currently, we've actually figured out how to submit, right, how to do a validation error, and every other thing, right? So how to validate our forms if everything is well submitted or well aligned, right? So the next thing is I want to situation once I click on the submit button, all the information I have in these forms will automatically clear, right? So how do I do that? I go back to my VBA, right? Then I'll probably just put a comment saying clear contents. So you make use of single quotes anytime you're making use of content in Excel VBA, right? So I'll say the name of my worksheet is SH, which is transactions, right? Remember, so which of the content am I trying to clear currently? I'm trying to clear the content in cell B3, right? So cell B3, then I close my bracket, dot clear content. That's the function in VBA, which is this, right? So if I select the submit button and it submits, automatically it's going to clear the content in cell B3, which is this, right? So I'll do the same thing for every other one, B3, B5, A3, E5, H3, H5, right? So this is B5. That is H3. sorry, E3, right? So V3, E5, yeah, is H3, that's H5, H5, right? So we've gotten that up to this information, right? So let me try clicking on this icon again to see. So I think we still have data there because it didn't clear, right? So click on this play icon, right? Then let's go back to VBA. Now, as you can see, it has cleared, right? But our formula is still there, as you can see in our formula bar, except for week and quarter, right? So, okay, our formula is left. So I think what we'll just do is we'll probably not put clear content on V3. We'll put clear content on H3 and H5 because these are calculating automatically, right? So what I'll just to do is clear the content in V3, clear the content in H3 and H5, right? So I'm going to remove the VBA code from what we have, right? So V3, we have H3 and H5, right? And okay, okay, I don't have any information there. So let me just put the functions again, which is so I think I've probably just passed time. Sorry about that. Let me just introduce my function again, which is week number. Then this, close the brackets. Then this if this cell is equals to blank, then return blank, or otherwise round up then the month. Round up month, which is B3 divided by 3, right? Then 0. Oh, sorry, I'm not supposed to like put, yeah, I think. Am I missing something? Oh, okay, yeah. So, yeah, so let me just input my customer's name again. Let me just put Michael, then 50 quantities, 50, then go back to my VBA code, then click on play, right? Okay, that one is submitted and input the customers again. So as you can see, this is submitted and our date, week number, and quarter is probably still in our information because these are actually automatically generated, basically. So the next thing is actually just to assign my submit button to the code I've actually written, right? So you right click on it, right? Assign micro, right? So the name of our building, like I mentioned earlier, is table, right? You click on it, then you press OK, right? So if I put any information now, right? So let me put Dayo 20,000. Next, click on submit, right? It automatically submits, right? And basically, I think that's right about that. And we can also decide to say, okay, we want to just probably just add, because you don't want to keep adding grid lines to whatever information you have, right? You can just decide to use maybe conditional formatting in Excel, right? And saying, oh, I like the old cell or your database, right? Go to your home tab, go to conditional formatting, then go to new rules, right? So if you go to new rules, I know on Windows is quite different, but on Windows, I think there's a place where you have use formula to identify, to probably just do your conditional formatting. I think there's something like that on Windows, right? So once you just click on insert new rules, so you have this function, you probably just have it on Windows, and this is a formula to determine which cells to format, right? So once I do that, so then I just input the function I'm trying to input, which is sorry, I'll probably tell you the reason I'm trying to make use of this function. So I'm saying if the cell is 10, which is this cell, right? If it's not equals to blank, if it is not equals to blank, what should it do for me? Right? There should be a place where I can just. So I want it to probably just give me or customize the format. Let me just customize the format. I want it to give me border if it's not blank, right? Right. So if there's an information there, right? So just put an automatic border for me. Then, okay. Oh, why is this not working? Sorry, why is this not working? I think I made a mistake somewhere. Okay, it's working fine. Yeah. So I input other information here. Yeah, there'll be borderline, other information, just a sample. And if I erase the information, the borderline is going to automatically clear, right? So I think we have, let me just test it one more time. Join 10 quantities even generated, which is 2000, then submit. Yeah, so basically, I guess I've used past our time, and I think I'll just be stopping here today. So thank you. I don't know if you have any question or contribution for.
Thank you very much too. And any questions for? Thanks for this really interesting topic you've done. So, any questions before we go to? We always have two questions, for all our speakers. So before I go to that one, I want to ask the audience if they have any questions for you. Okay, I'm looking in the chat. Okay, so that means we all were able to follow, right? By the way,
I think Shegun is raising his hand.
Okay. Let me make him a speaker. I didn't notice that. Change role. Let me do that all over again. Make a presenter, yes. Okay, so Shegun, I've given you ability to present, so you can speak. Shegun. Okay, so maybe while we wait for him to speak, so this is really interesting, and I wanted to ask, Oh, okay, yes, we can. I think we can hear you now, Shegun.
Yeah, good evening, Michael. Good evening, Ibukun.
Yeah,
so thank you very much for this opportunity. So it's quite insightful. I don't know, maybe you can, I don't know if it's now or if there's another way you can, explain that submit part. I think I didn't get that area. Like how you connected the submit icon to the VBA. Thank you. I think that's the only area I'm having here. The rest I got them.
Okay, Shegun. Thank you. So let me just explain it again, right? So to connect your submit button to your VBA code, right, or whatever shape you designed, right? What is just for you? Just you right click on it. Sorry, I think I made a duplicate. You right click on it, right? Then you see a place called assign macro, right? Also assign macro. Sorry. Then the name of the building we created or whatever we created, right? Remember, I created a building called table. I just want to use that illustration for it, right? Then you select it, all right? this is the only, if you have several VBA codes, you've probably seen different buildings there. Then anywhere you want to assign to this rectangular box, right, you click on it, then you press OK, and that's just it basically.
Okay. Okay, if there is another one, it's going to show up right there when you right click on the submit button, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks very much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, I see a question from Rahab. So she or he is asking, what if I want to use data validation to fill up some columns? How do I include that in the code? I'm not sure I understand. Data validation does not fill in data. Rahab, do you want to, if I promote you to a speaker, do you want to maybe voice out your question? Because I know data validation will only check what someone has typed, but will not type on your behalf.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just also maybe before I go to the main questions, we ask our presenter, I've had situations where people will be like, okay, is it possible to have this thing on a, well, I say a bit interactive form? So I know for Mac, yes, I think there's a user form too for Mac. But what has been your experience with, maybe you want the user to fill these on an external form?
It's the external form. Can I maybe just share my your question? I'm trying to get. Can you hear me, Michael?
Yeah, I hear you.
So can you just share my your question? What do you mean by external form?
External form. Hold on, let me check on my Mac where something like that comes up.
So hi, can I ask my question?
Yes, please go ahead. Yes, great. I was about to even say in the meantime, can anybody also ask? Yes, please go ahead.
So on the data tab, if you go on the data validation, the list. Maybe click on it. Like if I have like a data, like from the customer name, I wanted to add the customer type. Maybe maybe the town. I add that list in the code. Instead of typing it out, it just selects. Is it possible?
Sorry, I was muted and I was talking. Yeah. Okay. So let's say I'll probably just explain the way I try to do things when it comes to data validation or trying to create like a drop-down list, right? So what I actually do is I don't include my drop-down list in my VBA code, right? Anything that has to do with drop-down list, I try to do it in Excel. So what do I mean? So let's say, for example, now the customer, let's say instead of writing customer name here, what I have here is maybe employee names, right? And I have like 3 employees in my organization, right? So basically what I'll just do is just create the drop-down list here, right? I'll create the drop-down list on whatever information I inputted in my code. Nothing will change in my code, but I just need to change it to drop-down list and everything will work perfectly fine. I didn't even answer the question, Rob.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So as regards to my question, actually, Excel for Mac doesn't have it. So I think that my question is going to be invalid. So for us on Windows, there is also a user form. But this is awesome. Any other questions from anyone? Okay, so I'll go to the last 2 questions we usually ask our guests. And number 1 is, so we would like to hear your journey. I know when I was reading your profile, I think you were much more in logistics operations. Let me just go look at it again. But since you are here, let me not make assumptions. Let's hear from you how you got fully into this data analysis space, what your journey was from, as far back as you want to go. Maybe you want to go before Christ, or want to go to when you are 1 year old, or whatever period you think is relevant for us to follow along.
So basically, I actually started data analysis in 2020 during the COVID, right? So I was just probably looking for a skill to just hold on to, right? And I started with Excel majorly, right? Try to just upskill myself in Microsoft Excel. I need to other tools like Power BI and SQL and all of that. But yeah, I actually transformed into all of those tools. But I'm not going to lie, like Excel actually played a major role in all of this, because since I was able to understand the simple and the complex functions of Excel, it was easy, very, very easy for me to actually apply some of this into the likes of SQL, because basically they're all the same, right? It's just some of their syntaxes are different. Excel, Python, then Power BI, right? So I started in 2020, and based on I was able to work on projects. Yeah, and my organization just gave me the platform, right? To probably just strive using data analytics thing. And what I actually did to actually get better in all of these skills is, let's say they give me a simple project, right? And I just try to find a way to just automate some of these things and say, oh, it can actually be done this way. And due to some of these complex codes I've written, maybe in Excel, Python, right? That's actually just broadened my horizon in some of these tools, because yeah, most people like doing like the basic thing. They just do the dashboard and then submit, do this, then submit, and realize that, oh, I'm a data analyst. But to be honest, you can actually just go far and beyond, right? And I think that's what just makes you different, right? For example, now the user form you just created, normally most people will just probably just create a table and impute it, right? But we don't know who's saying it. Probably someone that was saying maybe to myself, oh, how did you create this? And from there, start creating them for yourself. But I think that's how I actually got better in some of these tools, just picking it and trying to make it better. So even if it's just 3 or 5 years I've actually spent in my data analysis journey, I'll say it has been great, and I've actually learned a lot, right? And it makes it easy, right? And I've been able to realize that it's not just data. You can actually find a way to go into other tools, right? So due to my knowledge of VBA, I was able to go into Python. I was able to go into Power Platform, get away from data analytics, and yeah, everything's actually working fine and good. So that's just it for me.
Oh, great, awesome. Then the last question. Yeah, by the way, let me show you the thing I was mentioning. So I think that, are you always a Mac person?
Actually, I'm more of a Windows person.
Oh, then why the choice of the Mac for the
So I think
Excel?
my Windows died, right? And
Oh,
I'm not able
okay.
to try, so I just have to make use of this.
Of the
I
Mac.
was so surprised I was able to actually navigate some of the things on my Mac.
Oh, I even thought maybe you are a natural with Mac, because the way you are going through everything was, it made it look as if Mac was your primary tool.
No, it's
So,
actually Windows. Yeah.
okay. Yeah. So if you look at my screen, for us on Windows, if I right click or go to insert that I want to insert, I will always see user form. So I checked on my Mac. Yeah, on Mac we don't have. So this one used to be really interesting. The fact that, you can just start to create buttons, submit buttons,
Yeah.
and all of those. So I was about to say that maybe, if somebody was looking for, like, I don't want to do it on the Excel screen,
Yeah, it's
and I want
possible.
to, so yeah. So I think that's the advantage of your method, the fact that one anybody can build on both the Windows and the Mac. But if somebody wants to build on the Windows, or is looking for this, is only on the Windows, they will do that. So the last question is, what's your advice for people starting out?
Yeah. So basically, I think my advice is, honestly, what worked for me, you just keep building, right? Because I think it's beyond building dashboards. I'm not going to lie, it's beyond building dashboards, saying, okay, I build a beautiful dashboard today, right? When it goes from dashboards to automation, right? I think that's where you probably just, when you do something to be like, yeah, I try to do this thing and I'm happy, right? So for me, it's just one word or something, just keep building. And in the long run, it becomes easier.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. So, you know, there was something I read. Yeah, I can't remember whether I read or I came across it in a video, but you know how they talk about the best craftsmen, the people who take whatever they are doing to an art level where they just do it with a kind of perfection, or that you enjoy their work. You find out that the difference is simply they kept building, you know.
Yeah.
I can go read on how to be a furniture maker, but you always see the difference between the person who's been building, you know, a whole lot of different things over the years and months compared to the person who has read the same books, who has the same tools.
True.
Yeah, so I kind of completely agree. So thank you very much. I hope we'll be able to host you again sometime in the future. You
Sure.
know, great. So to everyone who has joined, thank you for joining us today. Thank you. We had a very good number, you know, much more than we've had recently. So I think people enjoyed your session. People told others to come join. And I'm amazed that people find, I think you did the magic. You are very good at explaining things. So even though it's VBA, it's not the visual aspect of Excel. You know, people
Yeah.
are still able to follow along. So we have to give that to you. Thank you very, very much. Yes, someone is even saying that you're a very good teacher. You know,
Thank
are
you so much
you
for that.
are you
Shit.
considering a career or a part-time career in in teaching or training?
Yeah. Maybe I'll think about that.
And you are very seriously, you are extremely good. I even felt maybe this is not the first time you are doing this same presentation. I was even thinking maybe that Mac is even your primary tool until you mentioned that it was because your Windows was off. So I'm not imagining, you know, what if you had used what you normally use? It would just be as if you are the one that wrote the Excel and built the Excel program. So thank you.
Thank you so
So
much. I appreciate it.
great. To everyone, the recording is going to be available on our YouTube channel. Let me post the channel, then I will let everybody go because I know you probably also have your own agenda for the rest of the day. So I'll post the YouTube channel where you will be able to. It's by tomorrow. My colleague who does the uh, he does the extraction and some bit of editing. So it's usually by tomorrow afternoon that is done, and you will see it. The video will be live by tomorrow at. Okay, so thank you to everyone and have a wonderful week. Don't forget to connect with Ibukun on LinkedIn. I've shared his, if you scroll in the chat box, I've shared his LinkedIn profile. And I hope he's not the type of person who is picky about it too hard. You know, some people, they will not add you on LinkedIn unless they've seen you in person. So if he's the kind of person, you better book appointment to see him in person so that he will add you on LinkedIn when you send him a friend, you know, connection request. But connect with him on LinkedIn. Also, if you are interested in presenting, we've shared a speaker form. We are always looking for presenters. We want variety. We want people to learn something. We are not too picky because we're all different. We are all on different stage of our learning. For some people, they just need to refresh what they've known. For some other people, everything is completely new. So it's the person who is going to teach them in an easy to follow along. And for some people, it is the extreme they want to see. They want to see something they've not seen before. So we will always have a mixture. So because of that, we don't care as long as what the person is going to present is something they are good at and is related to data analytics. We don't try to say, oh, you must come and present about the thing that Microsoft just announced yesterday. You know, so thank you to everyone and have a wonderful week ahead. Once again, thank you, Ibukun, for the amazing session. You are very good at presenting, you know. Maybe it's a natural gift to you, but don't underutilize it. Maybe you start cashing out from it. So thank you very much, right? And bye bye everyone. Have a wonderful week ahead.
Thank you so much, Michael. Have a nice one.
Yeah. Bye. Thanks. So I'm ending the session now.